The millionaire baby wouldn't eat. The baby of Singapore's wealthiest tycoon hadn't eaten anything for 5 days. Tonight, he would die in my arms. These were the words Salma binti Abdullah never imagined she would have to utter before a judge. But in the early hours of October 15th, while she was mopping the marble floors of the Tan mansion in the exclusive neighborhood of Sentosa Cove, everything changed forever. Salma was 24 and had only been working as a domestic helper in that imposing 3-story residence for 3 months. It had gardens that looked straight out of a magazine and infinity pools worth more than everything she had earned in her life. She came from a small village in Johor Bahru, where poverty had taught her to value every dollar, every opportunity. 6 weeks prior, she had given birth to a baby girl, a beautiful infant who barely breathed for 4 hours before being taken by God. The doctors at Singapore General Hospital, SGH, said it was due to a congenital heart defect. Salma still felt the weight of those empty little arms, the silence where cries should have been, the milk her body kept producing with no one to feed. She desperately needed the money. Funeral debts, the rent for her tiny flat in Woodlands, and the allowance she sent to her sick mother in the kampung. That was why she accepted the job at the Tan household, despite the pain every time she saw the luxurious cots in the new heir's room. David Tan owned Capital Ventures, a real estate investment empire valued at over $200 million. His face frequently appeared on the covers of Business Times and Tatler Asia. A 2-year-old man, dark hair with distinguished gray streaks, a strong jawline, and gray eyes that could intimidate anyone who crossed his path. His wife, Valerie Lim, was everything Salma was not. Tall, slender, with that air of superiority only inherited money bestows. She hailed from an aristocratic family in Tanglin and had never worked a day in her life. Her world revolved around charity events, exclusive spas, and dinners at Michelin-starred restaurants. They had welcomed their first child just 2 weeks ago, Ethan Tan, a baby who should have been the joy of this perfect family, but was fast becoming their worst nightmare. That night, Salma was vacuuming the second-floor hallway when she heard the screams. It was Tua. They came from the master bedroom. "I can't take this anymore, David. I can't. This baby is ruining my life." Valerie's voice sounded hysterical, on the verge of collapse. "Calm down, please." The doctors said, "They will find a solution." David's voice sounded tired, defeated. "He hasn't eaten for 5 days. Ethan, how many formulas have we tried? 1, 20? He rejects them all. He is dying and you ask me to stay calm." Salma froze. She knew something was wrong with the baby. Over the last few days, she had noticed the constant parade of pediatricians, specialized nutritionists, and even a pediatric gastroenterologist flown in from Mount Elizabeth Novena. "The Chus invited us to Phuket this weekend. Do you realize I can't go? Do you realize I have to cancel everything because this child refuses to eat?" Valerie sobbed, but there was something strange in her crying. It didn't sound like a worried mother. It sounded like someone annoyed, resentful. "Valerie, he is our son. He is your son. I didn't want to get pregnant yet. You insisted. You said we needed an heir to close the deal with the Hong Kong investors. This was his idea." Salma felt nauseous. How could a mother talk about her own baby like that? She would give anything, whatever it took, to hold her little Elena back in her arms. Suddenly, a weak, very weak cry. It was the baby. "He's at it again. I can't take any more. I'm sleeping in the guest room. You do something." Valerie stormed out, brushing past Salma without even looking at her. In her ivory silk robe and designer slippers, Salma waited a few minutes. The baby's cry continued, growing weaker, more desperate. It was a sound that tore at her soul. She knew that cry. It was the cry of a child who was hungry, who needed to be fed, who needed his mother. But his mother had gone to sleep. She made a decision that would change everything. She approached the master bedroom door and knocked softly. "Mr. Tan, excuse me, do you need help?" David opened the door. His eyes were red, his hair messy, his shirt wrinkled. He held the baby against his chest, rocking him clumsily. Ethan was so small, so fragile. His skin had taken on a worrying pale tone. "Salma, I don't know what to do. He won't eat. Nothing works. The doctor said if he doesn't take food soon, his voice broke. This powerful man, capable of moving millions with a signature, was crumbling under the impotence of not being able to save his son. "May I try something, sir?" Salma extended her arms instinctively. David looked at her surprised, but desperation won out. He handed her the baby. The moment Salma took Ethan into her arms, she felt something she hadn't felt since losing Elena. A connection. The baby stopped crying for a moment and opened his dark little eyes, looking at her as if recognizing her, as if knowing she understood his pain, his hunger, his need. Mr. Tan, 6 weeks ago I had a baby girl. She died a few hours after birth. Salma felt tears rolling down her cheeks. My body is still producing milk. If you allow me, if the doctors don't find another solution, I could try to breastfeed him just for tonight, just so he has something in his stomach. David was in shock. He looked at Salma, then at the baby, then back at Salma. 100 thoughts must have crossed his mind. Protocol, social classes, what his wife would say, what Madrid society would think. But then he looked at his son, this baby who had rejected all food for 5 days, who was weakening hour by hour, whom the best pediatricians in Spain couldn't save. Please, David whispered. Save my son. Salma nodded. Holding the baby, she walked towards the sofa in the room, sat down, and with trembling hands, adjusted the blouse of her blue uniform. She brought little Ethan to her chest. What happened next was a miracle. The baby latched on immediately. With a strength no one would have imagined in his weakened little body, he began to suckle, to feed, to live. David collapsed into a chair, covering his face with his hands. He wept. He wept with relief, with gratitude, with emotions he didn't know how to process. Salma watched the baby as she breastfed him, feeling that terrible void in her chest begin to fill again. It wasn't Elena. It could never replace her daughter. But at that moment, holding this child who needed her as much as she needed to give him life, she felt that perhaps, just perhaps, they could both save each other. Ethan ate for 20 minutes. When he finally let go, his lips were wet with milk and an expression of absolute peace on his little face. He fell asleep in Salma's arms, breathing deeply, calmly. For the first time in 5 days, the millionaire baby was satisfied. But neither of them, neither David nor Salma, imagined that this desperate act of love would unleash a storm that would destroy secrets, reveal lies, and confront two worlds that should never have intersected. Because Valerie Lim was not going to allow a simple domestic helper to become the salvation of her son. And there was something else, something David still didn't know, something Valerie had jealously hidden throughout those months of pregnancy. Little Ethan carried a secret in his blood, a secret that explained why he rejected all food except Salma's. But that was yet to be discovered. The light of dawn streamed through the Tan mansion windows when Valerie woke up in the guest room. It was 7 a.m., and for the first time in almost a week, she had managed to sleep 6 consecutive hours without interruption, without Ethan's constant cries, without calls from doctors, without the suffocating pressure of feeling watched, judged, pointed out as an incompetent mother. She looked in the mirror, 38 years old, but looked younger thanks to monthly facials at the aesthetic clinic in Orchard Road. Her perfectly straightened blonde hair, her wrinkle-free skin thanks to strategic Botox. She had regained her pre-pregnancy figure in record time, exercising 3 hours daily with her personal trainer. The pregnancy had been a nightmare, not because of nausea or cravings, but because it meant losing control of her body, her image, her social life. David had insisted so much on having an heir. The Hong Kong investors want to see family stability, he said. We need to show continuity in the business. For Valerie, Ethan was more of a business requirement than a desired child. She put on her Italian cashmere robe and walked barefoot to the master bedroom. She expected to find David exhausted, the baby crying as usual, the same chaos, but what she saw made her freeze. David was asleep on the armchair by the window, with a blanket over his legs. And in the oak rocking chair that cost 3,000 euros, Salma, the domestic helper, was holding Ethan against her chest. The baby slept deeply with rosy cheeks, breathing calmly. On the side table was a heart rate monitor that some doctor must have left, showing completely normal vital signs. What the hell is going on here? Valerie's voice cracked like a whip in the room's silence. David woke up startled. Salma opened her eyes, scared, instinctively clutching the baby closer to her in a protective gesture. Valerie, I can explain. David stood up quickly. Explain why this woman is in our room, why she has my son. Valerie advanced with clenched fists, her normally controlled face now distorted by fury. The baby was dying. Ethan had 5 days without eating anything. No formula worked. Salma. She offered help. Help of what kind? Valerie looked at Salma with absolute contempt. She then noticed the uniform blouse slightly open, the milk stains on the fabric, and understood. No. You're telling me you allowed this? This helper to breastfeed our son? You've gone completely mad. I was saving his life. Don't you understand? The doctors didn't know what to do. Dr. Lee said if he didn't eat soon, we'd have to hospitalize him with IV feeding. He could have suffered permanent damage. Then you should have taken him to the hospital, but not this. Do you have any idea what people will say if they find out? The limbs, the investors, our friends. It will be a scandal. Salma stood up slowly with the sleeping Ethan in her arms. Her voice sounded firmer than she felt. Mrs. Lim, I only wanted to help. The baby was hungry. I lost my daughter recently and my body is still producing milk. I didn't intend to offend you or cause trouble. I just wanted the child to live. Valerie looked her up and down with that disdain only someone raised in wealth can perfect. Your daughter. How convenient. And who assures me you don't have some disease? Drugs in your system? Alcohol? We know nothing about you. Your life? Your people? Valerie, enough. David interposed himself between the two women. Salma passed all medical exams when we hired her. She is completely healthy, and thanks to her, our son is alive and well-fed for the first time in almost a week. As if to confirm his father's words, Ethan stretched in Salma's arms and let out a small, satisfied sound without waking up. He looked completely different from the pale, weakened baby of the night before. He had color in his cheeks, breathed deeply, and had even gained some weight in those few hours. Valerie clenched her jaw. She hated to admit it, but David was right. The baby looked better, much better. It's fine, she finally said with a cold voice. But this ends now. I will call Dr. Go, the royal family's pediatrician. If anyone can find a formula that works, it's him. We don't need the helper's alternative services. Mummy, a childish voice sounded from the doorway. It was Alice, David's 7-year-old daughter from his first marriage. A slender girl with dark hair and curious eyes, identical to her father's. Why are you shouting? You woke up, baby Ethan. Go back to your room, Alice, Valerie ordered harshly. She had never connected with David's daughter, the child who constantly reminded her that she wasn't the first wife, the first family. But I want to see my little brother. Daddy said he was sick. David walked to his daughter and hugged her. He's much better, princess, much better. Miss Salma helped him. Alice looked at Salma with those deep eyes that seemed to see more than a 7-year-old should. Did you cure my little brother? Salma nodded with a sad smile. I only fed him, little one, like mothers do, Alice said innocently. Then she looked at Valerie. Why didn't you feed him? The silence that followed was deafening. Valerie stiffened, her face reddening with shame and anger. David cleared his throat uncomfortably. Salma looked down. Because there are different ways to feed a baby, Alice, David finally said. Sometimes we use bottles with special formula. Valerie had medical complications preventing her from breastfeeding. It was a lie. Everyone in that room knew it. Valerie had rejected the idea of breastfeeding from the start. It ruins the breasts, she had said. And besides, it's primitive. That's what modern formulas are for. But modern formulas hadn't worked with Ethan. At that moment, the baby woke up, opened his little eyes, and looked around disoriented. When his gaze fell on Salma, something extraordinary happened. He smiled, a small, barely perceptible, but real smile, and reached his tiny hand towards her face. He's hungry again, Salma whispered. She knew the signs, the mouth movement, the small sound, the way he searched with his head. Give him the bottle that's in the warmer, Valerie ordered abruptly. If he ate last night, he'll eat from a normal bottle now. David prepared the bottle with the most expensive formula on the market, imported from Switzerland. He offered it to Ethan. The baby rejected it immediately, turning his head, starting to cry with frustration. They tried another brand, another temperature, another position. Nothing worked. Ethan cried louder and louder, arching his little body, turning red from the effort. It was the same desperate cry of the last 5 days. Please, David said, looking at Salma with pleading eyes. One more time, just until Dr. Go comes. Valerie was about to protest, but Alice got ahead of her. Let her, Mummy, Valerie, the baby is hungry, he's going to get sick again. There was something in the girl's voice, a maturity not corresponding to her age. Valerie looked at her with irritation, but said nothing. Salma sat back down in the rocking chair. With soft and natural movements, she brought the baby to her chest. Ethan calmed down instantly and began to feed. His little fists relaxed, his breathing becoming deep and regular. David exhaled in relief. Alice smiled. Valerie left the room, slamming the door. What none of them knew was that at that precise moment, Mrs. Margaret Saya, the 60-year-old housekeeper who had worked for the family for 20 years, had heard everything from the hallway, and Margaret had a niece who worked at Her World magazine. By the next afternoon, half of Singapore would be talking about the scandal in the Tan Mansion. But there was something else, something much darker. While Ethan fed peacefully in Salma's arms in a private clinic across town, Dr. Julian Ng reviewed the results of the blood tests he had taken from the baby days ago. His hands trembled as he read the data on his computer screen. Ethan's blood type did not match his parents', which was genetically impossible unless one of them was not actually his biological parent. And Dr. Ng had just discovered who Ethan Tan's real father was. He picked up the phone with trembling hands and dialed a number he had saved for months, a number he never thought he would have to use. "Good afternoon," he said when someone answered on the other end. "I need to speak to Mr. Rajan Menon. Tell him I have information about his son." At the Tan Mansion, while the October sun streamed through the windows illuminating Ethan's peaceful face, no one imagined that the truth was about to explode, and that when it did, it would destroy everything in its path. Rajan Menon received the call from Dr. Ng while having lunch at Jumbo Seafood, one of the oldest establishments in Singapore. He was the majority shareholder of Oceanic Holdings, the main competitor of Capital Ventures, a 4-5-year-old man, brown hair, athletic build, and a smile that had conquered dozens of married society women, including Valerie Lim. "Are you completely sure?" Rajan asked in a low voice, moving away from his table towards the restaurant's private washrooms. "The analyses don't lie, Mr. Menon. The baby's AB negative blood type can only come from his genes. David Tan is O positive. It is biologically impossible for him to be the father." Rajan leaned against the marble wall, processing the information. 10 months ago, he had a tumultuous affair with Valerie. They met at a charity gala at the Fullerton Hotel. She was bored with her perfect and predictable marriage. He was fascinated by the idea of conquering the wife of his biggest business rival, which started as a dangerous game, turned into weekly encounters at a discreet apartment in River Valley. Valerie had told him she was taking contraceptives. Obviously, she lied or was careless. "How many people know this?" Rajan asked. "For now, just me. But I have to submit the full report to the hospital. It's protocol when there are blood incompatibilities. Someone else will see it eventually. How much do you want?" There was a silence on the other end. Then Dr. Ng mentioned a figure, $50,000, for his silence and for altering the medical records. "Done," Rajan said. "I'll transfer the money this afternoon. But listen to me carefully, Mr. Ng. If a single word of this leaks, you won't just lose your medical license. I have contacts that can make your life very difficult. Understood?" "Understood, Mr. Menon." Rajan hung up and looked in the mirror. He had a son, an heir. The baby carrying the Tan name was his. The irony was delicious and terrifying at the same time. Meanwhile, at the Moraleja mansion, Salma had been temporarily moved to a service room on the same floor as Ethan's nursery. David had insisted. If the baby only accepted her milk, he needed to have her close 24 hours a day. Valerie had exploded at the suggestion. "You intend to have this woman live on our floor in the family quarters?" "It's temporary, Valerie, just until we find a solution. The solution is finding a formula that works. Dr. Go will be here tomorrow. He will solve this." But deep down, Valerie knew no formula would work. There was something about Ethan, something she didn't understand, that connected him to Salma in an inexplicable way. That night, as Salma fed Ethan for the 5th time that day, David entered the room with 2 cups of tea. "I thought you might need this," he said, offering her one. "Chamomile. My grandmother used to say it helped with milk production." Salma accepted the cup with a timid smile. "Thank you, Mr. Tan. You're very kind. Call me David, please. After all you've done for my son, I think we can dispense with formalities." He sat in the armchair opposite her. For the first time, Salma saw him without the executive suit, without the mask of a powerful businessman. He wore jeans and a simple shirt. He looked tired, vulnerable, human. "What was your daughter's name?" David asked softly. Salma felt the familiar lump in her throat. "Elena. Elena Ramley. She was born August 28th at 3 a. She weighed 2.9 kilograms. She had hair as black as mine and eyes." She stopped. "I never got to know what color her eyes would be. She closed them before I could see them well. I'm so sorry, Salma. I can't imagine that pain. It's like a part of me died with her." The doctors said her heart wasn't formed correctly, that there was nothing to do. But I felt her move inside me for 9 months. I heard her heartbeat. I dreamt of her future. And then, in a matter of hours, it all disappeared. David leaned forward, resting his elbows on his knees. "Her father. There is no father. Well, yes, there is. But he left when I told him I was pregnant. He was a bartender at the restaurant where I worked before. He said he wasn't ready to be a father, that he was too young. You were 26. Salma laughed humorlessly. I was 24 and terrified, but I didn't run away. You are very brave. I'm not brave. I just do what I must to survive, like coming to Singapore, working in other people's houses, cleaning the bathrooms of people who don't even look me in the eye. I look you in the eye, David said, and it was true. His gray eyes watched her with an intensity that made her feel uncomfortable and comforted at the same time. Ethan finished eating and burped softly. Salma laughed and rocked him in her arms. The baby looked at her with absolute adoration, his tiny fingers clinging to her blue blouse. It's strange, Salma murmured. When I feed him, I feel as if Elena is here somehow. As if through Ethan, she continues to live a little bit. David swallowed. There was something deeply touching in the scene. This young woman who had lost everything, giving life to his son with a generosity she had no obligation to offer. I will pay you more, he suddenly said. Triple your current salary, and you will have private medical insurance, paid vacation, everything you need. I don't have to do that, Mr. David. I do it because I want to help. I know. And precisely because of that, I want to do it. You are. I'm searching for the right words. You are exactly the kind of person Ethan needs in his life. At that moment, the door opened abruptly. It was Valerie, dressed in a Lululemon activewear set that cost more than Salma's monthly salary. She had just returned from her private Pilates class. What a touching scene, she said sarcastically. The master of the house drinking tea with the helper. What's next, David? Dinner together? Perhaps the theater? Valerie, don't start. No, David, you don't start. It's humiliating enough that this woman is breastfeeding our son. Now you also have to make her your confidante. Salma stood up with the sleeping Ethan against her shoulder. Excuse me, madam. But Valerie blocked her way. You know what? I'm sick of this. Sick of seeing you in my house, in my flat, with my son. Doctor, Go comes tomorrow, and when he finds the solution, you'll go back to mopping floors, which is what you're good for. Valerie, enough! David stood up furious. Salma is the reason our son is alive. Show some gratitude. Gratitude? Why? For doing something I should have done? Thank you for constantly reminding me that I failed as a mother. No one is saying that. They don't have to say it. I see it in everyone's eyes. In yours. In your daughter Alice's eyes. In the eyes of the staff. Everyone thinks I'm a terrible mother because my son wouldn't take my milk. For the first time, Salma saw something akin to vulnerability in Valerie's eyes. It wasn't just arrogance or cruelty. There was pain there, shame, the kind of wound that comes from feeling inadequate in the one thing a woman is supposed to do naturally. Mrs. Lim, Salma said softly. No one thinks that. Sometimes babies are difficult. My cousin had the same problem with her son. It doesn't mean you're a bad mother. I don't need your pity, Valerie spat. And I definitely don't need your mothering advice. You lost your baby. I still have mine. We are not the same. The words fell like knives. Salma pallid, feeling every syllable like a physical slap. David stood paralyzed by the absolute cruelty of the statement. Get out of here, Valerie, David said in a dangerously low voice. This is my house now. It is our house, and I will not tolerate you speaking like that to someone who has only shown kindness. Leave before I say something I will regret. Valerie looked at both of them with pure hatred. Then her expression changed to something more calculating, more dangerous. Fine, I'm going. But know this. Tomorrow when Dr. Go comes, I will demand a full investigation. I want blood tests, toxicology reports, criminal records. If this woman is going to be near my son, I will make sure there's nothing weird in her past. There is nothing weird, Salma said with dignity. You can investigate whatever you want. Oh, I will. And when I find something, because there's always something with people like you, I will get you out of this house, and I will make sure you never work in any decent residence in Singapore again. She left, slamming the door so hard that Ethan woke up and began to cry. As Salma soothed him by rocking him gently, David stared at the closed door. His marriage had been a facade for years, but now the cracks were turning into chasms. What they didn't know was that Margaret, the housekeeper, had heard the entire conversation. And that same night, her niece would publish an article on the digital portal of her world. Scandal in high society. Tycoon David Tan's wife refuses to breastfeed son. Domestic helper becomes millionaire heir's wet nurse. By the next morning, David's phone wouldn't stop ringing, and Rajan Menon would read the news while having breakfast, smiling with satisfaction. His plan was taking shape. Soon, very soon, he would claim what was his. The scandal exploded like a bomb on Spanish social media. At 8 a.m., the hashtag #Millionaire Mama was already trending on Twitter. Mothers' forums fiercely debated the issue. Some defended Salma as a modern heroine. Others called her an opportunist, a fortune hunter, even accusing her of having planned everything. David discovered the article when his personal assistant Roberto called him at 7:30 a.m. "Mr. Tan, we have a problem, a very big problem." On his mobile screen, David read the headline, "Domestic helper breastfeeds millionaire David Tan's son after his wife refused to do so." The article was accompanied by a blurry photo, clearly taken with a telephoto lens from somewhere in the garden, showing Salma on the rocking chair by the window, with Ethan in her arms. The act of breastfeeding was not explicitly visible, but the position and context were unmistakable. "How the hell did they get this?" David roared. "The networks are going crazy, sir. International media are already picking up the story. CNA, BBC World, even the Straits Times is asking for statements." David ran down the marble stairs 2 steps at a time. He found Valerie in the gourmet kitchen, sipping her morning green juice while browsing on her iPad. Her face was pale with fury. "Have you seen it yet?" she snapped without even greeting him. "I just found out." "Valerie, we have to handle this carefully. One wrong statement and one wrong statement?" "David, we're becoming the laughingstock of all of Singapore. My friends have already sent me 20 messages. The president of the charity club just called to offer her support, which is her elegant way of saying she wants gossip." The kitchen door opened. Salma entered with Ethan, who had just woken up. Seeing the expressions on David and Valerie's faces, she stopped dead. "Is something happening?" Valerie let out a hysterical laugh. "Is something happening? You're famous, Salma. All of Singapore is talking about you. The little helper who saved the poor rich baby from the vain and cruel mother." "What?" Salma went pale. David showed her his phone. Salma read the article and felt her legs trembling. Tears began to roll down her cheeks. I would never talk to the press. Mr. Tan must believe me. I don't know." "I know," David said firmly. "I know it wasn't you. Someone in this house talked." As if summoned by black magic, Margaret entered at that moment with a tray of toast. Her expression was cautious, guilty. David looked her straight in the eyes. "Margaret, do you know anything about this?" The 60-year-old woman looked down. I didn't speak directly to the press, Mr. Tan, but it's possible I mentioned something to my niece. She works at Her World magazine. You've worked here for 20 years, Margaret. 20 years in which this family trusted you, and this is how you repay us? It wasn't with bad intentions. I thought people should know the truth about how Miss Salma saved the baby. She deserves recognition." "Recognition," Valerie shouted. "You gave her recognition by turning us into a circus show. Do you have any idea of the damage you've caused?" Margaret started crying. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I didn't think." "You're fired," Valerie said coldly. "Pack your things and leave this house before noon." "Valerie, wait," David intervened. "Margaret has family depending on her." "I don't care. Either she goes or I go. You decide." David clenched his jaw, looking at Margaret with regret. "I'm sorry, but you're going to have to go. We'll pay you 3 months severance and a letter of recommendation. But after this, you can't stay." Margaret nodded, sobbing, and left the kitchen. At that moment, the mansion bell rang. It was Dr. Albert Go, the Spanish royal family's pediatrician, a man of 60 with completely white hair and an impeccable reputation. David ushered him into the main hall, where Salma waited with Ethan. "Dr. Go, thank you for coming on such short notice." "Of course, David. I heard about the rather unusual situation." He looked at Salma with professional curiosity, not judgment. "You must be the young lady who has been feeding the little one." "Yes, doctor. My name is Salma Khramli." The doctor examined Ethan carefully, checked his vital signs, his weight, his skin color, his reflexes. After 20 minutes, he took off his stethoscope and smiled. "This baby is in excellent health. He has gained 200 grams in the last 3 days, which is remarkable considering he was losing weight before. His vital signs are perfect." "So why does he reject every formula?" Valerie asked. "There are documented cases of babies developing very specific preferences. Some reject certain tastes, textures, or even temperatures. In rare cases, the emotional bond with the feeder also plays a significant role." He looked at Salma. "Clearly this baby feels safe with you, but there must be a formula that works," Valerie insisted. We can try, Dr. Go replied. I have access to specialized formulas not commercially available. However, I must be honest with you. He turned to David and Valerie. If the baby is thriving on breast milk, that is objectively the best nutritional option. No formula, no matter how advanced, can completely replicate the antibodies and nutrients of human milk. But this cannot continue indefinitely, Valerie protested. It's inappropriate. Inappropriate to save a child's life. Dr. Go looked at her sternly. Mrs. Lim, I have seen many things in my 40 years of medical practice, and I assure you that a generous woman sharing her milk with a needy baby is not even close to being the most unusual thing. It is, in fact, one of the most beautiful and human things I have witnessed. Valerie pressed her lips together but said nothing. My professional recommendation is this. Continue with the current arrangement for at least 2 more months. By then, Ethan will be able to start solid foods, and the transition will be easier. In the meantime, we will try to gradually introduce 1 bottle a day, very slowly so he gets used to it. David nodded. Thank you, doctor. After Dr. Go left, Valerie turned to David with blazing eyes. 2 months. He wants this to continue for 2 more months. It's what's best for Ethan. And what about what's best for me? For us? For our reputation? Our reputation will recover. Our son is irreplaceable. Valerie picked up her Hermes bag from the table. I'm going to Penang. I'll stay with my parents for a few days. I can't be here while all of Singapore talks about me as the mother who abandoned her baby. No one is saying that, but everyone is thinking it. And you, she pointed at Salma, who had remained silent throughout the exchange. You will stay here in my house breastfeeding my son, taking my place. Mrs. Lim, I never. Salma started. Don't talk to me. I don't want to hear your voice. Valerie left, slamming the door so hard the pictures on the walls trembled. David sank onto the sofa, covering his face with his hands. Ethan, oblivious to the drama, slept peacefully in Salma's arms. I'm sorry, David whispered. I'm sorry you have to go through this. None of this is your fault. Maybe I should leave, get another job. You can find a professional wet nurse, someone who… No, David looked up. Don't leave. Ethan needs you, and I need you here too. There was something in the way he said it, something that made Salma's heart beat faster. It was inappropriate. He was her employer, a married man, a millionaire. She was just a domestic helper from a lost village in Johor. But at that moment, looking into each other's eyes with a sleeping baby between them, both felt that something had irrevocably changed. What neither knew was that Rajan Menon was at that precise moment in his luxury penthouse in the Marina Bay area, reading the same article with a satisfied smile. He called his personal lawyer, Raymond. Raymond, I need you to prepare some documents. I am going to file for a paternity test. It's time David Tan knew the truth about his perfect heir. And in the basement of the Tan mansion, Margaret packed her belongings with tears in her eyes. Before leaving, she wrote a note that she slipped under Salma's door. I'm sorry for everything, but there is something you must know. Mrs. Lim has secrets. Secrets that explain why she hates you being here so much. Ask her about Rajan Menon. Ask her what he was doing at the Fullerton Hotel every Wednesday afternoon, a year ago. Salma would find that note 3 hours later, and when she did, she would begin to understand that Ethan was not just a baby rejected by his mother. He was the living secret of a betrayal about to destroy 2 families. Salma found Margaret's note when she returned to her room after putting Ethan down for his afternoon nap. The folded paper was on the floor by the door. Her hands trembled as she read the hastily written words. Rajan Menon, Fullerton Hotel, Wednesday afternoon. Who was Rajan Menon? The name sounded vaguely familiar, like something she had overheard in corridor conversations among the staff. She took out her mobile phone and searched on Google. The first thing that appeared was a photo of a handsome man on the cover of the Business Times. Rajan Menon, the investment shark threatening the Tan Empire. The article was dated 6 months ago and spoke of the fierce competition between Oceanic Holdings and Capital Ventures for a multi-million-dollar contract in Tuas. Salma kept searching. She found social photos. Rajan at charity galas. Rajan at luxury hotel openings. And then she saw an image that chilled her blood. Rajan Menon and Valerie Lim together at a Red Cross dinner 11 months ago. He had his hand on her lower back. She smiled in a way Salma had never seen her smile at David. Oh my God, she whispered. A knock on the door startled her. It was Alice, David's daughter. Salma, can I come in? I want to see my little brother. Of course, little one, but he's sleeping. Alice came in and sat on the edge of the bed, looking towards the cot where Ethan rested. She was a mature child for her 7 years, with eyes that seemed to understand too much. "My mummy is gone," Alice suddenly said. "My real mummy, I mean. She died when I was 3. Cancer." Salma sat next to her. "I'm so sorry, sweetie. Daddy was very sad for a long time. Then he met Valerie 2 years ago. She's pretty, but not affectionate like my mummy was. She never hugs me, never plays with me. Sometimes adults express love in different ways." "Do you think Valerie loves Ethan?" Alice asked with that brutal, childish honesty. Salma didn't know what to answer. Before she could, Alice continued. "I overheard Valerie on the phone a few months ago. She was crying. She said she had made a terrible mistake, that she didn't know what to do, that he couldn't find out." "Who couldn't find out?" "I don't know, but I think she was talking about Daddy." Alice looked at Salma with very serious eyes. "Do you think Valerie has secrets?" Before Salma could answer, the door opened abruptly. It was David with a devastated face. "Salma, I need to talk to you." "Alice, go to your room, please." "But Daddy, now." "Princess, now." Alice dragged her feet out. David closed the door and leaned against it, as if needing physical support not to collapse. "I just received a legal notification. Rajan Menon is requesting a paternity test for Ethan." Salma's world stopped. "What does it say?" "That he has evidence, he is the biological father, that he had an affair with Valerie, that Ethan is his son, not mine." David slid down the door until he was sitting on the floor with his head in his hands. "Do you understand what this means? If it's true, if Ethan isn't mine." Salma knelt in front of him. Instinctively, she took his hands. "David, breathe. You need to calm down." "How can I calm down? My wife cheated on me with my worst enemy, and the son I thought was mine. My son, that beautiful baby sleeping there, might not be mine." His voice broke. "Even if he weren't biologically, you are his father. You were there. You worried about him when he was sick. You are the one who loves him." David looked up. His gray eyes were full of tears. "How is it that you, who have suffered so much, who lost your own daughter, can be so wise and generous?" "Because pain taught me what truly matters, and it's not blood, it's love." They looked at each other for a long moment. David squeezed Salma's hands. "I called Valerie. I demanded she return to Singapore immediately, that she give me explanations. I hung up. What are you going to do?" "I am going to take the paternity test. I need to know the truth, even if it destroys me." He stood up, helping Salma up as well. "But there is one more thing I need you to know. No matter what is discovered, no matter who Ethan's biological father is, I will not allow Rajan Menon to take him away. That baby stays with me." At that moment, Ethan woke up crying. Salma went to the cot and took him in her arms. The baby calmed down immediately upon recognizing her. David watched them, mother and son, even if they weren't by blood. There was more love in that image than in everything he had seen in his marriage to Valerie. "Salma, there's something I want to ask you, and I need you to be completely honest with me." "Of course." "Why are you asking? Why do you stay here enduring? Valerie's insults, people's stares, the scandal. You could leave and find a job in another house where you'd be treated with respect." Salma looked at the baby in her arms. Ethan was watching her with those dark eyes full of absolute trust. "Because when I feed Ethan, when I look at him, I feel like my daughter didn't die in vain. I feel like her short life had a purpose, preparing me to save this baby. And also," she paused, biting her lip, I care a lot." "You care, Ethan?" David left the question hanging. But his eyes said it all. Salma felt heat rising to her face. "Mr. Tan, David, please. Call me David." "David, it wouldn't be appropriate. You are my employer. You are married. My marriage ended long before you arrived. It's just that I didn't want to see it. Valerie and I were never meant for each other. It was a convenient arrangement that became increasingly uncomfortable over time." However, the conversation was interrupted by the mansion bell ringing. David went downstairs and opened the door. It was a messenger with an official envelope. "Mr. David Tan?" "Yes." "Summons. You must appear next Monday for the paternity test. Here are all the details." David took the envelope with trembling hands. The messenger left. When David opened the document, he found something else inside. A photograph. It was Valerie and Rajan, kissing passionately in what appeared to be the lobby of the Fullerton Hotel. The date marked January 15th, exactly 9 months before Ethan's birth. David felt the floor moving beneath his feet. He leaned against the wall so he wouldn't fall. Salma rushed down the stairs, still holding Ethan. "What happened?" What does the document say? David showed her the photo without saying a word. Salma looked at it and felt nauseous. I'm so sorry, she whispered. I have to talk to my lawyers. This is going to get very ugly, David, very ugly. There will be legal battles, media scandals, investigations, and you will get caught in the middle of all this if you stay. I won't leave, Salma said firmly. Ethan needs me, and I need you too, both of you. David looked at her with a mixture of gratitude, pain, and something deeper neither of them was ready to name yet. Then, get ready, because the storm is just beginning. That night, while Singapore slept, 3 people stayed awake. David in his study, surrounded by lawyers, preparing his legal defense against Rajan Menon. Valerie in her parents' mansion in Penang, drinking wine and crying, knowing her lies were about to explode in her face. And Rajan, in his luxury penthouse in Marina Bay, looking at a photo of Ethan he had found online, touching the screen with one finger and whispering, "Soon, my son, soon you will be where you belong." But there was something none of them knew, something that would change everything completely. Dr. Ng, the same man who sold his silence to Rajan for S. Usha, Ling Ling Ling, H, Tua, Tua, A, Adi, Af, Gamav, Af, Diasa, and then Diasa, Bin, Yasa, P, Itat, Awov, C, Ame, Wave User, B, Imor. Now, 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 now. Anhopawing says, Anhopawing says, Anhopawing says, F, even the Siframi, Dala na lanfraim essa, Didan, H, Dala yama, Cantanta mona, Dala mona, N, Ifolka, Iwa, Mida, Iwa, 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 Iwa. Vislasis, B, Ele, Ovisal, Aware, Aware, Auftancia, Detancia, Avlisa, Dalaga Farisen, Daga, Dieslank, Verst official averst lash. Then this power, Ayut, these out, Vilo, Se, Mai, Se, N, R, Do, Quandali Prost, Evia Se, Enpulent, Amarku, Divan Salawaliza, Ivan Salawaliza, Delingzand, E, H, A Bru, Fand, V, C, Idonga Tiendawa, Kumfuranda, Idonga Tiendawa, Elisa, I, B, EY, this rhyme, Wime, H, Austi, Inora Uzora, Amela, W, Marunaria, DSPS, Anaria, Bashasta, D, even Tarad, Isas, our Posidida, our Posidida, M, Is, Engontu, Is Engo, Engodu, These are sore, formation, H well, me, Endi, Z, H, Isa, Avia, Duesa, Mi, Duesa, 8, Mazioni 4. If this work, Adraf Kife, Enmi Sala, Way Sin, no, 24, D, Didus Motest, Ufande, Bidak, O, Ubi, Ele, Indi Avdales, R, Amago, even Biso, J Dezont. Into, Laving, N, Vik Salarov, Vik Salarov, Woover Albiside, Manses, Extan, Divon Diana, Ifa Ofa, M, E5, in Vaisalo, in Mestalo, Ifti, H, Vida Doge, Dalanda Fordia Masco, EV, Doge, and G, C, R, Isa, C, I dance a D5, a yay from, and, Formadia, in the start, L, Liva Hesi, Ada, Ikan Shu and Weifel, Iprov 5, Kleit, Isanitia Sava, Inda Service, Infirms climb, to be, is live, I48, and, divka, tempur, x gram, see, if one end, of there, destro, bingen, enda, ika, ifa, and, mer, delita, arke, visa, and, 3, h, I'm a vistia 4, relining, sema, prisema, e, video, epiro, j, lows, in 5ds na 9, my 9, and free, m, w, if you want, a so, amas place, vena, x, is 1, do, h, e as fem, in mala, and dex in fact of the first, more tense of the lazi, and of the 5 and of the first of the first, do va, as in everieste do, ev, e, and d, h, even alisa, afapiem, r, b, yulu, itastika, underfend, and anseliger, life kama, video gan, awa, is an away, ye, ki 1000, is elankia, eli, sulisan, ifi de ye, bro gramendes, en sabu, h, is nabi, o, w, ec, nanti cc, ama, ds, and danazard, before the disornon, concramo, isa, 90 salavi, m, isa stande yogia, the 100%, da musting for, h, I country, and, z, nawazana, evas, l, cs phase, even or some, and I be, e, itisa, and, under, even fout, 8, enter ili. Final misto, b, awe, b, eleme, ifrat, yesta, z, yika, 1920, and in the say, in the, n, the art saying, n, and that, even trina, ende, there, ende, dida, unfortain, e, amara, emen, c, and is us, a b, m, this is the Alina, v, as, v, isa kangoshi kondiskopans, isa kandoskopan, next, n, that, n, kama ibisale, l, e, furtaya, a, I, n, h, ifasta, vilen, ifasta, r, ifar, e, I, 2, isenklisa shisto, andafiamanda, d, ingram, b, l, o furusamus alifurusamo, and Vikan, disabifagate, a beformant ibia, n, a, omnatial, indesistan del morga, m, indantally sent, eli, ye bia, ella, istisaya, v, a preide, bushan, r, e, melisaur, mand, vel, essa, si, on progis, indiga, en free, dest wanda dusi, diasha, alafras, amai kushia marita, even, and esto, e, tu, and desanso, mari, and desanso, n, vesiale, n, overanti, 8, isa, ewend, vruz, d, vicias, and on furland, x, 90, l, is of a different so, evo, n, e, a, m, e, a, ingo, arido, and 5, w, ahazusale, nas, viver, y, ivantamas disfeluk, with the lifel, and the stome, with the awel, t, and he's there's 9, h, lestu azida, a, liva, n, r, ve, a, ma, g, d end, c, diambaz, this, Inocena. Inclan. Gabe. Da. Ete. Si. Okanauska. Samagando si kanausta. Topusiga. Yesta. Ene yesta. And done fine for. In for the fine for. Arise. Si. Igosha. Abrak. L. F. Indestamende. Tayas fans. Ovasia tayas fan. R. M. Ufa liseza. L. Incitaine. Intramala. And R for Sam. Is one flashend. As a lona. N. Desuda. Kolasta sin. Come in pisen. Dendrestan. H. Alela. Ikanda. Vitai. Endure. C. Clay. Abaudisa. M. Is anti. C. E4. E4 D4. E4 D4. N. Deist. Dia. Ima. Ido. A. Eid. Imosta. 8. Ensigni sir. Mefa. Id in turn. Boy. Enadala. An. The lenderigo. W. As randestardia. Andastardia. As been this very no. As enter. Vilefort. P. Arca. R. Yem. Yem sense. Yem sense. Yem sense. Lisa C. If you ask for that the belly to do the 5U. N. Diaxand. As in do. Isitala. Bika. Isitala. Endin. Dizian. Microga. Vizian. Ivkan. Alesa. Ende beform. L. M. E. H. End. B. L. Ida for Yundasko. We have to. This D. In fact of the side. Atavi. Ikentanas first. Then Bran. If. T. Class. Isasa. Yina. Newik. H. A. Mava. Vibos. They like inflective amounts. Dant. A. Yefan. In Lassa for Mandika. In Fina. H. O. Vicafe. Biamza. P. It. My feel like. Fulia. My feel like. Conantin. Ifel. Andrish. Ea 40. L. H. APA. The Y5. Anisa. F. Iflis dalana. L. Isa. Yakusama sho. Bisama. Itfantolash. Tarankli. W. H. Prophet. Dia. If you rhyme. 9. Ia. Eta. Anna. Sen. Goz waiduso. My fanta. Agoz. Aza. H. Isi. If you off this alam. And dizia. Gay. A. V. Yen. B. Bika. Iles. R. Tinglash. Komesha. En no. En dash. En dasha. Hma. Defert. Even. Isara. Velen. Desal. And desal. L. Il. Ida. Isele. Enda. N. Andages Gofian saling. With contraf end. Endages filing. Isinai. T. Velike. W. Ia. Lamorfiklad. Until I know. And these times are dried as crossed. Axin. C. Isau. Anda. Ndi. Lisa. Alizanda. Indiza. Ise. Distand. If you never to the flation. Idasifo. Indofpada. N. P. Are. Yestu to the lifo. Iaves like. Example pavek. Sen. Pripas. Of the season by MC Sonasa. Laga. Vimua. Even bish. N. D. A. E. Mother. Fanze. Anze. And Devuzia. L. Eva Klas. Sai. If the an. Sem. Mane. Nobian nada. Dizistaya. Fiver. Wafti. H. Angromwa. Astawa. Nawa. Amangromwa. N. Lingdeling yi. 50,000. Had kept a copy of Ethan's blood tests. And that copy showed something gehaden. Told Rajan something crucial. The test indicated that Rajan was Ethan's father. But they also showed something else in the baby. Skinetics, a maternal inherited blood anomaly, a rare condition that explained why Ethan rejected commercial formulas. And that same condition was present in Salma. Blood test had the hospital had filed when she gave birth to Elena. It was a condition present in lestanol, nolet. 50,000 Rajan had paid him, but he didn't know that day would come much sooner than he imagined. Monday came too quickly. David, Valerie, and Rajan appeared at the specialized clinical laboratory on Jurong East Ave 1, accompanied by their respective lawyers. The tension was so thick it could be cut with a knife. Salma had stayed at the mansion with Ethan and Alice. The girl hadn't gone to school that week. David felt it was better to keep her away from potential cruel comments from other children who had undoubtedly heard their parents discussing the scandal. "Daddy?" Alice asked while watching Salma prepare lunch in the huge kitchen. "Ethan will be fine, right? What if it turns out Ethan isn't really my brother? Will they take him away?" Salma knelt in front of the girl, taking her small hands between hers. "Listen carefully, Alice. Your daddy loves Ethan with all his heart. No matter what the papers say, that baby is your brother, and your daddy will do everything possible to keep them together. And you will stay too." It was a simple, innocent question, but loaded with so much weight that Salma felt tears prickling her eyes. "As long as you need me, I will be here. We need you very much." At the lab, things were significantly less emotional. Valerie arrived 30 minutes late, wearing dark sunglasses and a mink coat, despite the relatively warm October weather in Singapore. "You're late," David said with an icy voice when she finally appeared. "Traffic from Penang was horrible. You could have returned last night as I asked." "I didn't feel like seeing you." Rajan observed the exchange with barely disguised satisfaction. He wore a dark gray Armani suit that cost over $5,000. His lawyer, a bald man named Kevin Tan, known for winning impossible cases using questionable methods, was whispering something in his ear. "Good morning, everyone," said the doctor in charge, a hematologist named Dr. Pascal Lim. "We will proceed with the blood extractions. The process is simple and painless. The results will be ready in 72 hours. Can't you speed it up?" Rajan asked. "I'll pay whatever is necessary. Scientific processes cannot be rushed, Mr. Menon. Accuracy is more important than speed." One by one, they had their blood samples taken. David was first, his expression impassive, but his knuckles white from clenching his fists. Valerie was next, avoiding eye contact with anyone. Rajan was last, smiling confidently. "We also need a sample from the baby," Dr. Lim indicated. "Is that absolutely necessary?" David asked. "He's a newborn." "I'm afraid so. But we will use a very fine needle. It will be quick." David called Salma. "Can you bring Ethan to the lab? They need a blood sample." 30 minutes later, Salma arrived with the baby. Entering the waiting room of the lab, the tension was palpable. Valerie glared at her. Rajan, however, observed her with curiosity. "So you're the famous wet nurse," Rajan said, standing up and walking over. "I've read a lot about you in the news." "Mr. Menon," Salma said politely, but coldly. "That baby looks healthy. You've done a good job." He reached out to touch Ethan, but Salma instinctively recoiled. "I'd prefer you didn't touch him." Rajan's smile froze. "That baby might legally be mine in a few days. I suggest you change your attitude." "That baby," David intervened, positioning himself between Rajan and Salma, "is mine, until a legal document says otherwise, and I would appreciate it if you kept away from him and the people who care for him. Always so territorial, David, even about things that don't belong to you." The two men glared at each other with pure hatred. Kevin Tan had to intervene by placing a hand on Rajan's shoulder. "Gentlemen, we are in a professional place. Let's maintain composure." Dr. Lim entered at that moment. "Miss, please, come in with the baby." Salma entered the extraction room. Dr. Lim was surprisingly gentle, distracting Ethan with a colorful toy while drawing a small blood sample from his heel. The baby cried briefly but calmed down when Salma cradled him against her chest. "Done," the doctor said. "You can leave. We will call you on Thursday with the results." As Salma walked out with Ethan, she heard raised voices. David and Valerie were arguing in a corner of the waiting area. "How could you do this to me?" David's voice trembled with restrained rage. "How long did it last? How many times on our bed?" "Never on our bed," Valerie replied with a tired voice. "It was always at the Fullerton. Wednesdays, Wednesdays, Wednesdays." I thought you were at your Pilates class. I haven't been to Pilates in 2 years, David. I thought you would have noticed. Why? Why did you do it? Valerie finally removed her sunglasses. Her eyes were red, swollen from crying. Because you were never really with me. You were always working or with Alice, or thinking about your late wife. I was just an accessory, the trophy wife for your business events. That's not true. No. When was the last time you asked me how I was, what I felt, what I wanted from life? For you, it was only important that I looked good in photographs and organized perfect dinners. So the solution was to sleep with my competitor, get pregnant by him? I didn't plan to get pregnant. It was an accident, and when I found out, it was too late to. She stopped. To what? Get rid of the pregnancy. David looked at her with horror. Did you consider it? Of course I considered it, but then you were so excited about the idea of an heir. All the investors were asking about my pregnancy, and Rajan said it was better to keep the secret that no one needed to know. He knew from the beginning. Of course he knew. It's his son. The words fell like bombs. Salma, who had been unintentionally listening from the hallway, felt her heart clench. She looked at Ethan, so innocent, so unaware of the chaos his mere existence had caused. Rajan appeared then with his arrogant smile intact. Valerie, darling, you shouldn't reveal all our secrets yet. There's still a lot to negotiate. Negotiate. David advanced towards Rajan, but his lawyer stopped him. Mr. Tan, any act of violence would prejudice your legal position. David breathed heavily, trying to control himself. If the results confirm you are the father, I will destroy you, Rajan. Both you and your company. I will use every contact, every resource, every dollar I have. Go ahead. But remember that the judge will assess who is more fit to raise the child. A stable, successful man without public scandals, or a humiliated cuckold who is on every cover as the cheated husband. Rajan moved dangerously close. Besides, I have something you don't have. What? The love of the child's mother. Valerie will come with me when I win custody. We will be a complete family. You will be left alone, David, as you always have been. Valerie did not contradict Rajan's words, and that silence was more painful than any verbal admission. David turned and left without another word. Salma quickly followed him, with Ethan in her arms. She caught up with him in the car park. David was leaning against his Mercedes, hands covering his face. He was sobbing. That powerful man, that business magnate, was crying like a child. Salma approached, said nothing, just stood beside him with Ethan between them, offering her silent presence. After several minutes, David looked up. You heard everything? Yes. Then you know I will probably lose. Rajan is right. If Valerie testifies in his favor, if they present evidence that they are a stable couple, then you'll fight. Don't give up without a fight. Why? Why should I fight for a son who isn't even biologically mine? Salma placed a hand on his arm. Because love isn't in the DNA, David. It's in the sleepless nights, in the worries, in wanting what's best for him, regardless of the personal cost. You are his father in every way that matters. David looked at her. He truly looked at her. He saw a young woman who had lost everything, and yet found ways to give love. He saw strength and kindness. He saw everything Valerie never was. How is it that in the middle of all this hell, you are the only good thing that has happened to me? Salma felt warmth rising to her face. David, I know it's inappropriate. I know the timing is terrible, but I need you to know that you have changed something in me, in this house, in everything. Before Salma could reply, David's phone rang. It was his chief lawyer, Roberto Tan. David, we have a bigger problem. Rajan just filed an emergency motion. He wants temporary custody of Ethan immediately. He alleges that while you are emotionally unstable and the baby depends on a helper for feeding, he can provide a more stable environment. Can he do that? He already did. We have a court hearing tomorrow at 10 a.m. You need to prepare. David hung up and looked at Salma with desperation. They are going to try to take him from me tomorrow. What none of them knew was that Dr. Ng was at that precise moment, looking at Ethan's blood tests on his computer, and had found the anomaly, the genetic connection between Ethan and Salma. He picked up the phone and dialed a number. It was time to increase the price of his silence. This information was worth much more than $50,000. This information was worth millions, and it was about to change the destiny of everyone involved. The courtroom of the Family Justice Court was packed. Reporters, the curious, and lawyers filled every available corner. The Tangent Menon case had become the scandal of the year, and everyone wanted to witness the drama from the front row. David entered dressed in his best Brioni suit, but the dark circles under his gray eyes betrayed that he hadn't slept in days. His legal team surrounded him, Raymond Tan and 2 other lawyers specializing in family law. Rajan arrived minutes later, smiling with that irritating confidence, accompanied by Kevin Tan and Valerie. She was wearing a cream Chanel trouser suit, her hair perfectly coiffed, makeup impeccable. She looked more like a model on a runway than a mother fighting for custody of her son. Salma was sitting in the public benches, with Ethan asleep on her lap. Alice was at the mansion with a temporary nanny. David had insisted Salma bring the baby. The judge needs to see that Ethan is healthy, well cared for, and you are the reason for that. Judge Clara Sea entered the room. She was a woman in her 50s, with a serious expression and a reputation for being relentless but fair. She had handled some of Singapore's most complicated custody cases. Good morning. This is an extraordinary proceeding, requested by Mr. Rajan Menon, to determine temporary custody of the minor Ethan Tan, pending the resolution of definitive paternity. Mr. Kevin Tan, you may begin. Kevin Tan stood up, adjusting his Italian tie. Your Honor, my client seeks what is best for the minor. The facts are clear. Mr. David Tan is undergoing a severe emotional crisis, resulting from the discovery of his wife's infidelity. His mental state is unstable. Furthermore, the baby is entirely dependent on a domestic helper, Miss Salma Ramli, for his nourishment, which creates an unhealthy dependency. Do you have evidence of Mr. Tan's alleged unstable mental state? The judge asked. Testimonies from staff who have seen him cry, shout, behave erratically. Furthermore, Your Honor, the minor is being breastfed by a woman who is not his mother, an employee. This raises serious concerns about appropriate boundaries and professionalism. Raymond Tan stood up. Objection. Miss Salma Ramli saved the baby's life when no doctor could find a solution. She is not just any employee. She is the reason that child is alive today. Understood, Judge Sea said. Mr. Tan, what does your client propose as an alternative? Mr. Menon and Mrs. Lim are prepared to provide a stable home for the minor. A professional wet nurse has already been hired. The baby would receive care from both biological parents in a suitable family environment. The judge looked at Valerie. Mrs. Lim, do you confirm you wish to move in with Mr. Menon and take your son with you? Valerie stood up. Her voice sounded rehearsed, mechanical. Yes, Your Honor. I made mistakes in my marriage, but my priority has always been Ethan's well-being. Rajan is his biological father, and together we can give him a complete family. And David Tan's daughter Alice from your first marriage? How would this affect her relationship with her brother? Valerie hesitated. Clearly, she had not considered that question. Well, Alice is not my biological daughter. I suppose she would stay with David. A murmur went through the room. Even Judge Sea frowned at the coldness of the reply. David clenched his fists under the table. Raymond Tan seized the moment. Your Honor, that precisely proves our point. Mrs. Lim is willing to separate 2 siblings, to tear the baby away from the only home he has ever known, from the sister who adores him. That is acting in the best interest of the minor. Mr. Tan, present your case, the judge ordered. With pleasure. Your Honor, Mr. Tan has been Ethan's father since the moment of his birth. He was present at every medical visit, every sleepless night, every critical moment when the baby was ill. Biology does not define fatherhood, love does. And the dependency of the baby on the domestic helper, Miss Salma Ramli. Raymond motioned towards where Salma was sitting. She is a 4-year-old woman who lost her own baby 2 months ago. When Ethan was literally starving, she offered her breast milk expecting nothing in return. She has been medically evaluated, is completely healthy, and the baby is thriving under her care. The judge looked towards Salma. Miss Ramli, could you approach with the baby, please? Salma felt her legs trembling as she walked towards the stand. Ethan woke up in her arms, looking around curiously. Miss Ramli, is it true you are breastfeeding this baby? Yes, Your Honor. Why do you do it? What do you gain from this? Salma looked at Ethan, then at the judge. I gain nothing material, Your Honor. I do it because when my daughter died, I felt a part of me died with her. When I had the chance to save Ethan, I felt my daughter hadn't died in vain, that her short life had a purpose. Silence in the room. Even some reporters had tears in their eyes. Do you have an emotional attachment to the baby? Yes, Your Honor. Very much so. And to Mr. Tan? The question dropped like a bomb. Salma felt the heat rising to her face. I respect Mr. Tan very much. He is a good man and a loving father. That does not answer my question, Miss Ramli. Before Salma could answer, the door to the room opened abruptly. A man in his 40s, dressed in a doctor's coat, rushed in. "Excuse me, Your Honor, my name is Dr. Julian Ng. I have crucial information about this case that must be heard immediately." Judge Sia frowned. "Dr. Ng, this is highly irregular. Who gave you permission to interrupt this proceeding?" "No one, Your Honor, but what I have to say will completely change this case." He walked to the stand, pulling several documents from a manila envelope. "Your Honor, I performed blood tests on baby Ethan 2 weeks ago. During the standard procedure, I discovered a rare blood anomaly, a condition called Bombay phenotype, which affects less than 0.01% of the population. And what does that have to do with Miss Ramlee? I checked the records at SGH, where Miss Ramlee gave birth 2 months ago. Her tests show the same anomaly. The statistical probability of 2 unrelated people having this condition and finding themselves in this exact situation is approximately 1 in 10 million. Salma felt the world spinning. "What are you saying?" "I am saying that you and baby Ethan share an extremely rare genetic marker, which suggests a direct familial relationship." "That's impossible!" Rajan shouted. "I am the father of the child. The tests will confirm it." "You may be the biological father, Mr. Menon, but there is evidence that Miss Ramlee might be related to the baby through the maternal line." Valerie stood up, trembling. "That's ridiculous. I am the mother. I gave birth to Ethan. There are hospital records, witnesses. Unless..." Dr. Ng paused dramatically. "Unless there was an exchange of babies." The silence that followed was absolute. No one breathed, no one moved. "What?" Salma whispered. "Miss Ramlee, where did you give birth to your baby?" "At SGH, Ward 3, Maternity Ward." "What day?" "August 28th. Dr. Ng looked at Valerie. "And you, Mrs. Tan?" Valerie was pale as a ghost. "August 28th. SGH, Ward 3. The same day, the same hospital, the same floor." Dr. Ng let the information sink in. There was a chaotic night shift that night. A new nurse, 2 babies born minutes apart, and now 2 babies with unexplained connections. David slowly approached Salma. "Are you saying?" "I'm saying it's possible there was a mix-up, that the baby who died wasn't Miss Ramlee's daughter, and that Ethan is my son." Salma finished, tears streaming down her cheeks. "Ethan is my biological son." The room exploded into total chaos. Judge Sia banged her gavel uselessly, trying to restore order. Rajan glared at Dr. Ng with pure hatred. "How much did they pay you to say this?" "No one paid me to tell the truth, although you paid me $50,000 to hide it." Dr. Ng looked directly at Rajan. "Yes, Your Honor. Mr. Menon bribed me to alter medical records. I have the bank transfers as evidence." Judge Sia stood up. "This hearing is suspended. Dr. Ng will be taken into custody while we verify his claims. Mr. Menon, do not leave Singapore, and someone get a warrant to exhume the body of the baby girl who died. We need definitive DNA evidence." Salma collapsed into a chair, hugging Ethan tightly to her chest. The baby, oblivious to all the drama, looked at her with those dark eyes full of love. "My baby!" Salma sobbed. "My Elena didn't die. My baby is alive." David knelt in front of her, taking her hands. "Salma, if this is true, if Ethan is really your son, then everything makes sense," she whispered. "That's why he accepted me, why he rejected everything else. It wasn't just the milk, it was the connection. Mother and son always know." Valerie watched the scene from afar with an unreadable expression. Rajan had left the room furiously, followed by his lawyer. And at that moment, as Salma wept, hugging the baby she thought she had lost, as David realized he might lose the child he loved, and as Valerie understood that her entire life was a lie, no one noticed the older woman sitting in the last row. She was the nurse who had been on duty that night of August 28th, the one who had confused the identification bracelets of 2 babies, because she was tired, because she was new, because life sometimes makes cruel mistakes. She had lived with that guilt for 2 months. She had seen the news. She had recognized Salma. And now, finally, the truth was coming out. She stood up silently and left the room. Outside, she breathed the cool October air and cried, because some truths, however necessary, destroy entire worlds. The next 3 days were hell for everyone involved. The media went completely wild. The hashtag #BabySwap was trending globally. TV shows debated the case for hours. Legal experts, child psychologists, and family rights activists offered endless opinions. Salma locked herself in the Tan mansion, refusing to speak to reporters. David had hired extra security after 3 TV crews tried to enter the property without permission. The exhumation of the baby girl who had died took place on Tuesday morning. Salma could not be present. The idea of seeing the casket being opened, of physically facing the possibility that that wasn't her daughter, was too much. David was with her all that day, sitting in the garden, watching Ethan sleep in his stroller without talking much, just existing in that shared space of uncertainty. "What happens if it's true?" Salma finally asked. "If Ethan is really my son, biologically, that means Rajan has rights over him." David had been thinking the exact same thing. "I don't know. Legally, it's very complicated. You would be the biological mother. Rajan, the biological father, the legal father. Until now. And Valerie gave birth to another baby that died. Poor woman," Salma whispered. "Despite everything she's done to me, I can't imagine her pain now. Valerie hasn't left her room in the hotel where she's staying. Her mother called. Says she is sedated under psychiatric supervision." Alice appeared in the garden in her school uniform. She had been sent back to school to maintain some semblance of normalcy. "Daddy, the kids at school are saying nasty things." David hugged her. "What kind of things, princess?" "That Valerie is bad. That Salma stole my brother's baby from me. That we're weird." Tears ran down her cheeks. "Ethan is going to stay with us." "I don't know, sweetie, but I'm going to do everything I can to make sure he does." Alice pulled away from her father and walked to Salma. She took her hand. "If Ethan is really your baby, I'm glad, because that means your baby didn't die, and you're good. You'll be an amazing mummy." Salma started crying, hugging the girl. "Thank you, Alice. That means a lot to me." Thursday morning, everyone was summoned back to the courthouse. The DNA results were ready. The room was even more crowded than the last time. Judge Saya entered with a severe expression, carrying a sealed envelope. "This case has captured national and international attention. I want to make it clear that this court makes decisions based solely on evidence and the best interest of the minor. I do not care about headlines or public opinion." She opened the envelope, read silently for several seconds that seemed eternal. "The DNA results are conclusive. The baby girl who passed away on August 28th was not the biological daughter of Salma Ramli. She was the biological daughter of Valerie Lim and Rajan Menon." Valerie let out a groan of pain. Her mother, sitting next to her, hugged her as she sobbed. "The baby known as Ethan Tan is the biological son of Salma Ramli and a man named Javier Torres, the father who abandoned Miss Ramli during her pregnancy." The silence was absolute. Salma felt she couldn't breathe. "Wait," Rajan said, standing up. "Are you saying the baby isn't mine?" "Correct, Mr. Menon. You are the father of the baby girl who passed away, not the baby boy who survived." Rajan collapsed into his seat, pale. His entire plan, his entire strategy, crumbled in seconds. The nurse responsible for the swap, Clara Yeo, has submitted a full statement, admitting her error. That night, there were 2 births almost simultaneously, 2 baby boys. In the confusion and due to her inexperience, she placed the identification bracelets incorrectly. The judge looked at Salma. "Miss Ramli, legally you are the biological mother of Ethan. However, Mr. Tan has been the legal father for these 2 months, and the biological father, Mr. Javier Torres, apparently has no interest in exercising his parental rights." "I don't even know where he is," Salma said, her voice trembling. "He left when you told him you were pregnant. He has not attempted to contact you. In that case, we have a unique situation. A biological mother who thought her child had died, a legal father who loved this baby, believing it was his, and no biological father present." Raymond Tan stood up. "Your Honor, my client requests to maintain legal custody of the minor. He has been the only father Ethan has ever known." "Objection," said the lawyer representing Salma now, a man named Thomas Lee, whom David had hired for her. "My client is the biological mother. She has the primary right over her son." Judge Sia removed her glasses. "This is one of the most complex cases I have seen in my 30-year career. Miss Ramli, Mr. Tan, please approach." Both stood up and walked towards the stand. Ethan was with a nanny in the adjoining waiting room. "Miss Ramli, what do you want to do?" Salma looked at David. She saw the terror in his gray eyes, the fear of losing the child he had cared for since the first second of its life. Then she thought of her own loss during the 2 months she believed Elena was dead. I want my son. Of course I want him, but," her voice broke, "but Mr. Tan loves him. He has cared for him, and I wouldn't have any of the resources he has. I live in a tiny flat. I work cleaning houses. I can't give him the life David can offer." Money is not the only thing that matters in raising a child, Miss Ramley. I know, but David is a good man, a loving father, and Ethan has a sister who adores him. How can I separate them? David impulsively took Salma's hand. There is another option, Your Honor. Which one? Shared custody. Salma could move to the residence, not as an employee, but as Ethan's mother. She and I would raise the child together. He would have both parents, his sister. Stability. Mr. Tan, you are still legally married to Mrs. Valerie Tan. I will file for divorce this very week on grounds of infidelity and deception. The judge looked at Valerie. Mrs. Lim. Valerie stood up slowly. Her eyes were empty, as if something inside her had broken permanently. I will not fight. My baby died. The child I thought was mine is not. I have nothing left to fight for. Rajan tried to approach her, but Valerie rejected him. Don't touch me. You knew there could be a mix-up. The doctors told you when they saw the blood anomaly, but it was more convenient for you that Ethan was David's son. More scandal, more damage to his company. Valerie, my baby died because of you. If I hadn't been stressed from hiding the affair, if I had better prenatal care, maybe my son would have survived. Valerie turned to the judge. Approve whatever is best for Ethan. I'm going to Penang. I don't want anything to do with any of you. She left the room escorted by her mother. Rajan watched her go, and for the first time, he looked vulnerable. He had lost everything. His son was dead. The woman he loved hated him. His reputation was destroyed by bribing Dr. Ng. Judge Saya deliberated for several minutes. This is my temporary decision, subject to review in 6 months. Salma Ramli regains all maternal rights over the minor. David Tan will maintain shared legal custody for the next 6 months, while an appropriate family dynamic is established. Miss Ramli, do you agree to move to Mr. Tan's residence to facilitate joint parenting? Salma looked at David. He nodded, squeezing her hand. Yes, Your Honor, I accept. Then so be it. Session adjourned. The gavel fell, and with that sound, everything changed. Salma had her son back. David kept the child he loved. And together, somehow, they would have to find a way to become a family. When they left the courthouse, reporters surrounded them. Cameras flashed. Questions flew from all directions. Miss Ramley, how do you feel about getting your son back? Mr. Tan, are you divorcing Valerie? David placed his protective arm around Salma, guiding her towards the car. Raymond and the rest of the security team blocked the reporters. Once inside the Mercedes, with the tinted windows shielding them from curious eyes, Salma finally allowed herself to cry. She cried for the 2 lost months, for the unnecessary pain, for Valerie's baby who died without anyone knowing. I will make up that time, she vowed. Every second I lost with Ethan, I will get back. David hugged her. We will do it together, I promise you. And as the car pulled away from the courthouse towards the mansion, to Sentosa Cove, towards the baby waiting for them, towards a life neither of them had planned, but which was perhaps exactly what both needed, neither noticed the black car following them from a distance. Inside that car was Javier Torres, Ethan's biological father, the same man who had abandoned Salma 2 years ago. He had seen the news, he had seen his son was alive, and now that son lived in a millionaire's mansion. Javier smiled as he lit a cigarette. He had been working in construction in Penang for the last 2 years, barely surviving. But now he had a son, a rich son, a son worth gold, and Javier Torres had never been good at refusing opportunities. 3 weeks after the court resolution, life at the Tan mansion found a new rhythm. Salma no longer slept in the service quarters. David had given her the master suite on the 3rd floor with garden views and an attached room perfect for Ethan's nursery. The adjustment hadn't been easy. Salma still felt awkward being served by other staff, many of whom had been her colleagues just a month ago. But slowly, with David's patience and Alice's unconditional support, she began to feel that perhaps, just perhaps, she belonged there. It was a Saturday morning in November. Salma was in the garden with Ethan, enjoying the autumn sun. The baby had grown noticeably. His cheeks were full and rosy. His eyes shone with intelligence. He already weighed almost 5 kilograms. Look, my love, Salma told him, showing him the golden leaves falling from the trees. Autumn is magical, isn't it? He looks happy. Salma turned. It was David walking towards her with 2 cups of coffee. He was wearing jeans and a wool sweater, more relaxed than she had ever seen him. Thank you, she said, accepting the cup. He's growing so fast. Sometimes I'm afraid I'll miss an important moment. That's why we're in this together, to make sure neither of us misses anything. David sat on the bench next to her. How do you feel? With all this? I mean, Do you regret agreeing to move here? No, never. But sometimes, I feel like I'm living someone else's life. 3 months ago, I was cleaning floors. Now I live in a mansion. I have my own lawyer. The media call me the miracle mother. You are more than that, Salma. You are brave, generous, incredibly strong. Their gazes met. There was something in the air between them. Something that had been growing for weeks, but neither dared to name. David, Salma started, but was interrupted by Alice, who came running out of the house. Daddy, Salma, there's a man at the gate. He says he needs to talk to you. He says he's Ethan's daddy. Salma's heart stopped. What? David stood up immediately, his expression turning serious. Alice, take Ethan inside, now. The girl obeyed, although clearly frightened. Salma followed David to the main entrance, where one of the security guards was restraining a man. Javier Torres looked exactly as Salma remembered him, only more unkempt. His hair was longer, he had a few days' growth of beard, his clothes were rumpled, but those honey-colored eyes were the same ones that had captivated her 2 years ago. Salma, Javier said with that smile she once found charming. You look good. This millionaire life suits you. What are you doing here, Javier? Salma's voice trembled with restrained anger. I came to meet my son. I have rights, you know? I saw the news. All of Singapore knows I'm the biological father of the millionaire baby. David stepped between Javier and Salma. The same baby you abandoned when his mother was pregnant with him? You have no rights here. Oh, but I do. I consulted a lawyer. I can request shared custody, visitation, child support. Javier smiled maliciously. Or we can reach a more civilized agreement. How much do you want? David asked directly. $500,000, an assigned document, permanently renouncing all my parental rights. It's a bargain, considering I could ask for much more in court. You are despicable, Salma spat. How can you do this? Use your own son to extort? He's not my son, Salma. He's a means to an end. I didn't want to be a father 2 years ago, and I don't want to be one now. But if the universe gives me a chance to improve my life, it would be foolish not to take it. David took out his phone. Carlos, come to the main entrance. We have an intruder. I'm not an intruder, Javier protested. I'm the biological father. I have every right to be here. Not on private property without an invitation. 2 security guards appeared. Escort Mr. Torres off the property. If he returns, call the police. As they led him away, Javier shouted towards Salma, think carefully. Either pay me, or I'll see you in court, and believe me, judges favor the rights of biological fathers. When they finally left, Salma collapsed against David, trembling. He hugged her, feeling her sob against his chest. He can't take him away from me. No, not after all this. I can't lose Ethan again. You won't, I promise you. David held her tighter. I'm going to talk to Robert. We'll find a way to neutralize Javier. That night, after putting Ethan and Alice to bed, David and Salma met in the study with Raymond Tan. The situation is complicated, the lawyer admitted. Javier has biological rights. If he formally requests a paternity test and establishes custody, legally he is entitled to minimum visitation. And if we pay him? David asked. That would technically be extortion, illegal. But, Raymond paused, if he voluntarily agrees to renounce his rights in exchange for an agreed sum, presenting it as a mutual agreement, it might work. I don't want to give him a single dollar, Salma said bitterly. He doesn't deserve it. You're right, he doesn't deserve it, but sometimes we have to swallow our pride to protect what we love most. David took Salma's hand. $500,000 is a lot of money, but for me, it's nothing compared to the peace of mind of knowing Ethan will be safe. What if he comes back asking for more? What if this never ends? Raymond intervened. That's why the agreement must be airtight. Total and irrevocable renunciation of parental rights, confidentiality clause. If he violates any term, he must return the money multiplied by 3. Prepare the documents, David ordered, but investigate him first. I want to know everything about Javier Torres, where he lives, where he works, if he has debts, criminal records, everything. During the next few days, while waiting for the report on Javier, the tension in the house was palpable. Salma barely slept, constantly checking the locks, making sure the guards were alert. David noticed the dark circles under her eyes, how she flinched at every noise. One night, he found her in Ethan's room at 3 a.m., simply watching him sleep. You can't live like this, he said softly from the doorway. I'm afraid that one day I'll wake up and he won't be there, that Javier will find a way to snatch him away from me. David entered the room and stood next to her, looking at the baby sleeping peacefully. Salma, I need to tell you something. And maybe this isn't the appropriate time, but if I don't say it now, I think I'm going to explode. What is happening in the last 2 months? Watching you with Ethan, watching you with Alice, sharing everything with you. I have realized something. He turned to look at her directly. I have fallen in love with you. Salma felt her heart stop. David, I know it's complicated. I know I'm technically still married, although Valerie signed the divorce papers last week. I know you started as my helper. That there are class and age differences, everything. But none of that matters to me. The only thing that matters is that when I am with you, I feel like I am finally in the right place. I feel something for you too, Salma admitted, tears running down her cheeks. But I am so afraid. Afraid it's too fast. Afraid of ruining it. Afraid that one day, you'll wake up and realize you made a mistake. The only mistake I made was not telling you sooner. David wiped her tears with his thumb. I'm not asking you to marry me tomorrow. I'm just asking you to give me a chance, to see where this takes us. Salma looked into those gray eyes that had gone from intimidating her to making her feel safe. She thought about everything they had been through together, how he had never treated her as less, how he loved Ethan as if he were his own. Okay, she whispered. A chance, David smiled, and at that moment, with the moonlight streaming through the window and Ethan sleeping between them, he leaned in and kissed her. It was a kiss full of promises and hope. When they broke apart, Salma rested her forehead against his. What are we going to do about Javier? We're going to give him his money. We're going to make him sign those papers, and then we are going to forget he exists. David kissed her forehead again. And we are going to be a family. You, me, Ethan, and Alice. A real family. The next day, Robert arrived with his report on Javier. He had gambling debts of $100,000. He had been living with different women in Penang. No lasting relationships, temporary jobs, nothing stable. He's a loser looking for a lucky break, Robert concluded. But that makes him dangerous. Desperate people are unpredictable. Then let's give him what he wants, David decided. But with our conditions and with police supervision present when he signs the documents. The meeting was scheduled for the following Monday. In Robert's office, with a notary present and 2 police officers as witnesses, Javier Torres signed the total renunciation of his parental rights over Ethan. $500,000, Javier said, checking the bank transfer on his phone. A pleasure doing business with you people. If you ever come near Salma, Ethan, or any member of my family again, this transfer will be automatically reversed, and we will sue you for 3 times the amount. Understood? David's voice was cold steel. Perfectly understood. Don't worry, you'll never see me again. Javier looked at Salma one last time. I hope you'll be happy, truly. You were always too good for me. And with that, he left their lives forever. Salma felt as if a huge weight had lifted from her shoulders. David hugged her right there in the office. It's over, he whispered. It's finally over. But as they celebrated their victory, neither noticed the envelope that had arrived that morning at the mansion. A letter sent from Penang was from Valerie, and what it contained would change everything once again. Valerie's letter remained unopened on David's desk for 2 days. Every time he walked past it, he felt a mixture of curiosity and fear. Finally, one afternoon, while Salma was in the garden with the children, he gathered his courage and opened it. Dear David, I know I don't deserve your attention, much less your forgiveness, but I need to write this to you before I can move on with my life. For months, I've been in intensive therapy. My psychiatrist says I suffer from severe depression and that I probably had it for years without treatment. That doesn't excuse my actions, but perhaps it explains them. I never loved you the way you deserve to be loved. I married you for the wrong reasons. Security, status, escaping my family's expectations. And when I became pregnant by Rajan, I panicked not about the baby, but about losing everything I had built. The irony is cruel. The baby I carried for 9 months, the one I felt move, the one I dreamed of meeting, died, and I never knew. For 2 months, I believed my son was alive, that he simply rejected me as a mother. Now I understand that the universe punished me in the most painful way possible. I am not writing to ask for forgiveness. I don't deserve it. I am writing because I want you to know that Salma is everything I could never be. She is genuine, loving, brave. Take care of her and tell her I am sorry for all the pain I caused her. I am also writing because I need you to know something about Alice. She was never just your first wife's daughter to me. She was a constant reminder that I wasn't the first, that I would never be enough. But now, in therapy, I realize how cruel I was to an innocent girl who just wanted love. If you can, tell her I'm sorry, that she always deserved more than what I gave her. I have decided to stay in Penang. My family has connections here, and I will start anew. Perhaps one day I can look at myself in the mirror without hating myself. The divorce is signed. I want nothing from you. I only want peace. Take care of Ethan, and tell Salma that thanks to her, I now know what true maternal love is. I saw it in every look she gave that baby, even when she thought it wasn't hers. With regret and something akin to gratitude, Valerie. David finished reading with tears in his eyes. It was strange. He had hated Valerie for weeks, but this letter showed a broken woman finally confronting her demons. That evening, after putting the 3 children to bed, David and Salma gathered everyone in the living room, Alice and Ethan on the floor on their playmat. I received a letter from Valerie, he announced. Alice, there is something she wants you to know. He read the relevant part of the letter to the girl. Alice listened in silence, processing the words. Does she really mean it? She finally asked. I think so, Princess. People make mistakes, sometimes very big mistakes, but the important thing is if they learn from them. Alice was thoughtful for a moment. Then she walked over to Salma and cuddled up next to her. I'm happy you're here. You're a better mummy than Valerie. Salma hugged the girl, feeling tears threatening to fall. I will never try to replace your real mum, Alice. But I promise, I will always love you. I know. That's why I'll call you Mummy Salma, like kids call stepmothers in movies, but in a nice way. David watched the scene with a full heart. His broken family had been rebuilt in the most unexpected way. It wasn't perfect, but it was real. The next few months brought beautiful changes. David's divorce was finalized in January. By March, he officially proposed to Salma in the same garden where she had saved Ethan that first night. I know it's fast, David said, kneeling with a diamond ring that had belonged to his mother, his first wife. I know all this has been crazy, but I also know I don't want to spend another day without you officially being my family. Salma cried, laughed, and said yes 1,000 times. They married in an intimate ceremony in May with only close friends and family. Alice was the maid of honor, dressed in a beautiful lavender gown. Ethan, now 8 months old, was crawling everywhere in his little suit. Salma's mother traveled from Johor Bahru, still unable to believe the turn her daughter's life had taken. My girl, the domestic helper, marrying a millionaire, she said through tears. It's like a fairy tale. It's not a fairy tale, Mum, Salma corrected. Fairy tales don't have so much pain. This is real life. Complicated, painful, but also beautiful. During the reception, David gave a speech that left everyone in tears. A year ago, my life was perfect on paper. I had money, success, a family that looked good in photographs, but I was empty inside. Then Salma came, a woman who had lost everything but still had room in her heart to save my son. We didn't know then that he was her son too. Maybe fate knew. Maybe there was a reason why she was exactly where she needed to be that night. I don't believe in chance. I believe some people are destined to meet. And I was destined to find this extraordinary woman who taught me that true love has nothing to do with blood, money, or status. It has to do with being present, with choosing to stay, with loving unconditionally. He raised his glass to Salma, the woman who saved his son, and him in the process. Everyone toasted with tears in their eyes. 6 months after the wedding, Salma discovered she was pregnant again. This time, David was present at every doctor's appointment, held her hand during every ultrasound. And when their daughter was born in February of the following year, a perfect baby girl with Salma's eyes and David's smile, they named her Elena Valentina Tanramli. Elena, after the baby Salma, thought she had lost. Valentina, because despite everything, Valerie had been part of the story that brought them together. Alice adored her new little sister, and Ethan, now 1.5, looked at her with that precious childish curiosity. We are a big family, Alice said one afternoon while everyone was in the garden. Weird, but big. The best kind of family, Salma agreed with Elena in her arms and Ethan playing at her feet. David hugged her from behind, kissing her head. Do you remember that night you knocked on my door offering help? Every day? It was the night everything changed. It was the night a millionaire baby wouldn't eat anything, and a cleaner gave him breast milk and saved him. But not only him was saved, all of us were saved. Salma turned to look at him. Do you think Valerie is okay? I hope so. I received a message from her a month ago. She's engaged to an architect in Penang. She seems happy, or at least at peace. I'm glad for her. You have too generous a heart. No, I just understand that we are all doing the best we can with what we have. Valerie lost her baby. I got mine back. Life is strange like that. That night, after putting the 3 children to bed, David and Salma sat on their bedroom balcony, watching the stars over Singapore. "Did you ever imagine your life would be like this?" David asked. "Never, not even in my wildest dreams. 2 years ago, I was cleaning houses, pregnant and alone. Now I'm married to the man I love. I have 3 beautiful children. I live in a mansion. It's surreal. Are you happy?" Salma thought about it for a moment. She thought about all the pain she had gone through, the loss, the grief, the humiliation. But she also thought about Ethan laughing, about Alice calling her mummy Salma, about Elena sleeping peacefully in her cot, about David, her husband, her partner, her love. "I am more than happy. I am complete." David kissed her, and in that kiss were promises of shared mornings, of challenges they would face together, of love that would grow with the years. Because in the end, the story had never been about a millionaire baby who wouldn't eat. It had been about finding family in the most unexpected places, about a love that transcends biology, about second chances and intertwined destinies. It had been about a woman who lost everything and found more than she ever dreamed of, and about a man who had everything and discovered he had nothing until he found true love. That night, as Singapore slept and the stars shone over the mansion in Sentosa Cove, the Tan Ramlee family rested in peace, complete, healed, and finally home. The end.